My name is Emily Carter, and honestly, I never thought I'd have the courage to tell anyone this, but today, I need to. Not for me, but for every girl who's ever been stepped on, humiliated, turned into a joke for no reason at all. I was just 16, sitting in the back of the classroom as usual, hiding behind the books I pretended to read. That was my way of hiding from the world. But that day, the world didn't let me hide. I remember the smell of chalk in the air, the muffled voices outside, the look in the teacher's eyes. But what I'll never forget was the laughter. Their laughter. When that boy, the popular one of course, stood up and pointed at me like I was some circus animal. His words, I can't even repeat them. All I know is, in that moment, something inside me broke. But what nobody expected was that along with that break, a courage I didn't even know I had was born. And what I did next stopped the entire school. The clock on the wall showed exactly 10:32 a.m. But for me, time had stopped. I felt cold sweat running down the side of my neck as I pressed my fingers against the pages of my battered notebook. The noise of the old air conditioner mixed with the restless shuffling of students passing notes, hiding their phones. Outside, the muffled sound of a basketball bouncing on the asphalt echoed like an invisible countdown. I knew something was about to happen. Emily. I heard someone call my name, quiet, sarcastic. I recognized the voice without looking. It was Jake. Jake Wallace, football team captain, pale gray eyes, that crooked, cruel smile. My whole body froze. Hey, Emily. You gonna pretend you didn't hear me? Gonna keep hiding behind that pathetic notebook? He insisted, standing up from his chair. The sound of his chair scraping the floor echoed through the room, silencing most of the whispers. His footsteps, slow and heavy, came toward my desk. My head was down, but I could see his shadow forming over my trembling hands. Jake, go back to your seat, said Ms. Muriel, our teacher, but her voice had no strength. I knew. She didn't want to get involved. Nobody did. Jake ignored her. He was enjoying himself. Hey, guys, you know what I heard? That Emily lives in that crappy part of town. You know, where even the buses barely go. I heard her dad disappeared, took off. And her mom, who knows? Probably working in some cheap diner. Or maybe worse, right, Emily? He said, leaning over my shoulder. I could smell the mint gum mixed with the strong scent of cheap deodorant. That's when my breathing started to fail. Jake, that's enough! Suddenly, Sarah yelled, one of the few who sometimes gave me pitying glances, but Jake just laughed. Defending the invisible girl, Sarah? How noble, but no need. She likes attention. Look at her playing mute just to see if anyone cares. I lifted my face. For the first time, my eyes met his, and for a second, just 1 second, he hesitated. Say something, Emily. Prove you're alive, he whispered now, just for me. Or are you gonna keep being the zero you've always been? The silence in the classroom was so heavy, it felt like the air had disappeared. And then, my voice came out. Low, shaky, but firm. Finish. Jake blinked, confused. What? Just finish. Say whatever you want to say, because when you're done, it'll be my turn. The entire class froze. Even I froze. I had no idea where those words came from. Jake stepped back half a step. I kept staring at him. Go on, Jake. Say it. Laugh. Do your little show. I'm waiting. His face turned red. For the first time, he didn't know what to say. Behind him, I heard one of the other students whisper, "Damn!" Ms. Muriel said nothing, just watched me. Everyone watched me. That's when the sound of the basketball outside stopped. I slowly closed my notebook. The snap of the cover echoed like a gunshot. I stood up, and with a voice calmer than I ever thought I had, I said, "You all think you know who I am. You think that because of where I live, because my mom works double shifts, that I'm worth less. But let me tell you a secret, Jake. Are you supposed to scare me? No. Because someone who's really gone hungry, someone who's heard their mom crying in the bathroom thinking nobody could hear, Doesn't get scared of people like you. Jake stepped back again. I took a deep breath. Every word felt like the weight of every day I'd kept silent. From today on, if you or anyone else wants to mess with someone, pick another name, because mine, you're not saying it again. Silence. Total. Only then did I realize my hands were shaking so much I could barely hold my notebook. Jake turned away, stunned, going back to his seat. Miss Muriel cleared her throat but said nothing. I sat back down, but inside, I was standing for the first time, and that's how, that morning, without meaning to, I started something no one in that school expected, not even me. After that class, the world felt different, not because it had changed, but because I had. I walked down the hallway like I was crossing a minefield. Every step echoed too loudly. Eyes followed me. I wasn't invisible anymore, not forgotten, but it wasn't admiration. It was something else, like everyone was waiting for something. A fall, an explosion. Emily, wait. It was Sarah. I turned slowly. She stood near the drinking fountain, hugging her books against her chest, eyes nervous, breathing fast. Why did you speak like that? You never... She hesitated. I just said what needed to be said, I replied cold, though inside I was shaking. But now Jake, you know what he's like. I know exactly what he's like. Sarah lowered her gaze. There was real fear in her, not just for me, for herself too. He's coming after you, Emily. I took a deep breath, exhausted. He already was. Sarah said nothing, just looked away. The hallway was empty, but the walls felt like they were closing in. The old smell of cleaning mixed with the sweat of metal lockers. The sound of the loudspeaker announcing the end of the break. Then she said softly, "If you want, you can sit with me at lunch." That offer, so simple, hurt more than any insult, because it showed how alone I was. Thank you, Sarah, but I need to think. And I walked away. As I pushed through the double doors leading to the side hallway, the cold air hit me full force. Across the way, near the basketball court, I saw Jake talking to two of his friends, but they weren't laughing. They weren't shouting. They just watched me. He, especially. His gray eyes now looked at me differently, not from above, but head-on. I kept walking. My destination, the second-floor bathroom, the only place where I could lock the door and allow myself to fall apart. But before I got there, a voice. "Emily." I stopped. My stomach turned. Slowly, I turned my head. It was Principal Thompson, tall, imposing, neatly trimmed gray beard. His eyes were serious but not angry. "Come with me, please." It wasn't a request. Without a word, I followed him. His office smelled of old coffee and polished wood. I sat down in the chair across from his desk. He sat down across from me behind stacks of papers and an old phone that seemed like it never rang. He folded his hands. "They told me what happened." Silence. "I'm not going to ask if it's true. I know it is. What I care about, Emily, is why." My throat tightened. I didn't know what to say. "You've been here almost 2 years and never said a word. Today you snapped. Why?" I couldn't speak. Only silent tears rolled down my cheeks. And strangely, he waited. He didn't rush me. He just let me sit there. Until, in the quietest voice of my life, I said, "Because I'm tired." He tilted his head. "And now?" "Now, I don't know." Principal Thompson let out a long sigh. Then he said something I'll never forget. "I'll be honest, you just declared war against the most popular student in this school. I don't think it was a conscious decision, but it was a decision. And I want you to understand, they don't forget, they don't forgive." I looked at him, frightened. "And the school?" I asked. He lowered his gaze. "The school watches." And that was it. I was dismissed, alone in the hallway again. But this time, something followed me, the feeling that the worst was yet to come. I thought that day had been the peak of my courage, but I had no idea it was only the start of my fall. The next morning, the silence at school was louder than any shouting. When I walked through the iron gates, the world seemed to avoid me. Entire groups of classmates changed the subject as I passed. No one laughed, no one teased, but no one talked to me either. It was like I'd become an invisible virus. And part of me preferred insults to this emptiness. In the main hallway, I saw Jake, leaning against the lockers, arms crossed, speaking quietly with two other players. But unlike usual, he wasn't showing off. He wasn't laughing loud. When he saw me, he just watched, like a hunter picking the perfect moment to strike. I sat in the back row of the classroom. The teacher walked in. The lesson started, but no one was paying attention until the first note arrived. I saw it slide from hand to hand until it landed by my foot. A crumpled piece of paper. I hesitated, but picked it up. "Today you're gonna pay for your little show, princess from the slums." My breath caught. I looked around. Everyone pretended nothing was happening. Another note came from the other side. "Get ready after class." My throat closed up, but I took a deep breath, and for the first time, I smiled. Because it was predictable, because they were predictable. At break, Sarah found me. She looked panicked. "Emily, did you get the notes? They're going to do something. You need to go to the principal again." "For what?" "So I can hear that the school is watching." Sarah bit her lip, then whispered, eyes shiny with tears. "They're saying they'll get you in the back parking lot. Jake told everyone not to interfere." I looked at her. "Are you afraid of him?" She hesitated, then said, "I am." I glanced around. Familiar faces, all waiting, hoping or fearing. And then I decided, "I'll go." Sarah's eyes widened. "You're crazy." "No, just tired." "Emily, please." But I went. When the final bell rang, the school became an arena. Everyone pretended to be indifferent but moved toward the back parking lot. The air smelled like gasoline and sun-scorched weeds. The gray sky felt heavy over us. Jake was there, alone. Black t-shirt, steel gray eyes, no smile. When I got closer, he simply said, "You showed up." I stopped about 10 feet away from him. "Showed up for what, Jake?" I asked, steady on the outside. He took a step forward. "You challenged me in front of everyone. Now you're gonna learn how things work." "Are you gonna hit me?" I dared. He frowned. "Didn't expect that." "I don't need to." "So what are you gonna do?" The silence between us felt like an invisible tug of war. Then he spoke. "I'm going to destroy you." The others arrived. A circle formed around us, and then he did something I didn't expect. He pulled out his phone. "Today, Emily Carter becomes the school's official joke." He hit record, pointed the camera at me. "Come on, Emily. Tell us where your mom works, huh? Which corner she cleans bathrooms on? Or want to tell us how your dad abandoned you?" My breath caught. The phone was recording, the circle was watching, but then something inside me broke. Not from fear this time, from anger. And I spoke. "Record it, Jake, go ahead. Show the world who you really are. Show them how you have to humiliate someone weaker to feel like a man." The circle murmured. "Show them how small you are, how even surrounded by friends, you're alone." Jake lowered the phone, just for a second, but it was enough. And then came the first twist. Sarah stepped into the circle, crying. "Stop!" Her voice cut through the air. "Enough, Jake. Everyone here knows what you do. Everyone's heard the stories. But no one says anything because they're scared. Well, I'm saying it. I saw when you shoved Ben against the lockers last week. I saw when you tore up Jessica's notebook. I saw, and now everyone's gonna know." Silence. Total. Jake didn't move. Sarah was shaking, but she didn't step back. And at that moment, I understood. I wasn't alone anymore. But Jake wasn't the type to accept losing. And what he'd do next would put someone's life at risk. I wanted to believe that moment in the parking lot had ended everything. But I was wrong. That night, when I got home, something heavy hung in the air. The kitchen light was off. My mom hadn't come back from work. She left just a scribbled note on the counter. Extra shift. Dinner's in the fridge. Love you. But what she didn't know was that I wouldn't be able to eat anything that night. I sat on the couch, turned on my phone, and right there, I saw it. The video. Not the one Jake recorded, a different one, worse. Someone, probably him or one of his friends, had dug through my social media. They'd pulled up old photos, pictures of my rundown house, my worn-out clothes, my quiet visits to the public laundromat, and they'd put it all together, made a montage, added mocking music in the background, and posted it with the caption, "Queen of the Slums, meet Emily Carter, the school's biggest fraud." Thousands of views. Comments, laughing emojis, trash emojis. The video spread like wildfire. My stomach turned, the tears came before I even realized. And in the middle of all that, a message from Sarah. "Emily, call me, please. We need to talk, now." But I didn't call. I locked myself in the bathroom, sat on the cold floor, and cried harder than I ever had. Hours later, drained, I lay on the floor, staring at the stained ceiling. And I asked myself, why? Why keep fighting? The next morning, when I walked into school, things got worse. The silence was still there. But now it was accompanied by stifled laughter, by knowing glances. I knew everyone had seen it. Jake had won. Sarah found me in the hallway. "Emily, you saw..." I just looked at her, blank, and kept walking. But she followed me. "He won't stop. You get that, right? He's not going to stop." "Then tell me, Sarah. What do I do? Scream? Cry in front of everyone? Disappear? Go back to being invisible?" She didn't answer. At lunch, no one sat with me. Not even Sarah. I didn't eat. I just stared at my empty tray. But then, fate played its hand. As I stood up to leave, I saw something that froze me, a new video posted just minutes before. But this time, it wasn't about me. It was about Sarah, photos of her, screenshots of private conversations, and a caption even crueler. "The little princess traitor, Sarah and her best friend from the slums." Jake was now attacking anyone who stood by me. Sarah burst into the cafeteria crying, her tears obvious. I saw her collapse to the floor near the door as everyone just watched. And at that moment, something in me changed. I couldn't hide anymore. I had to fight back, but not alone. What I didn't know was that someone from Jake's own team was ready to switch sides. I never liked the library. It always felt like a place where the voices trapped in books screamed louder than people did. But that morning, after the video about Sarah, it was the only place my feet led me. I hid between the shelves, breathing in the strong smell of old paper and polished wood, trying to steady my breathing. Then, footsteps. "Emily." My body froze. It was a male voice, but it wasn't Jake. "Emily, I know you're here." I turned slowly, and I could barely believe it. It was Ethan, one of Jake's friends. A basketball player, a quiet, reserved, the type who always followed the group but never laughed at the jokes. And now, he was standing there. "What do you want?" I asked harshly, trying to hide my fear. "To talk." "Why?" He took a deep breath, rested his hand on one of the shelves, avoiding eye contact. "Because I can't pretend anymore." "Pretend what?" He looked me in the eye. Dark brown, steady. "That I agree with Jake." I didn't know what to say. I just watched him. Ethan continued, "I've seen what he did, what he's doing to you, to Sarah, and to others before you. But the whole school's afraid, and he uses that." Why are you telling me this now? I whispered. Because he's gone too far, and because you're not alone, Emily, not anymore. My throat tightened. I don't trust you. You don't have to. Then why are you here? Ethan hesitated, then said something that shattered me. Because my sister was like you, and she gave up. Silence weighed heavy. I saw him fighting to keep his voice steady. I know how this ends if no one does anything, and I'm not going to stand by again. I took a deep breath. If this is another trap, it's not. Then prove it. He nodded. Jake's planning something bigger, not just videos. He wants you and Sarah suspended. He wants to take you both down officially. My eyes widened. How? Framing you for assault, for vandalism. He's setting it up right now. I heard him last night. Tears came without warning. He wants you out of here, Emily. Gone for good. I leaned against the shelf, feeling the floor vanish beneath me. Ethan stepped closer. But I can stop it. Why? Because someone has to. We stood in silence. After long seconds, I asked, "What do you want me to do?" He breathed deep, his eyes serious. "You're going to expose Jake, but the right way." "How?" Ethan lowered his voice. "He hides in the shadows. We're going to drag him into the light." And the plan was set, but for it to work, I'd have to face Jake's in front of the whole school. That night, I didn't sleep. The plan Ethan proposed sounded insane, but insanity now was continuing to run. He explained everything to me as we sat together in the library, between shadows and the buzz of an old light. Jake never turns his phone off. Never. And he never suspects people on his side. "You're going to record him?" I asked, incredulous. Ethan nodded, firm. "He trusts me. I'll start the conversation. Get him bragging. He always brags. Once he starts, the rest is up to you." "The rest?" Ethan looked straight at me, serious. "Broadcast it." The plan was simple and risky. The next morning, I walked into school like stepping onto a battlefield. Eyes followed me in the hallways. Sarah's video was still circulating. She, by then, was at home, hiding, out of fear. I was next. During second break, Ethan sent me the message. "It's ready. Come to room 107, alone." My heart nearly stopped. Room 107, an old study room near the gym, rarely used. I went. Every step felt like a decision. The sound of my sneakers on the polished floor echoed like a warning. When I entered, Ethan was already there. His phone was recording, but hidden. He didn't want me to see it. Safer that way. "He'll be here in minutes." I took a deep breath. "What do I do?" Ethan gave a slight smile. But it wasn't a happy one. It was the smile of someone who knew the danger. "When I give the signal to start the live stream, on your phone, Jake loves the spotlight. He won't notice." Minutes later, we heard footsteps. Jake walked in. "Ethan, what the hell is this? Why'd you call me here?" His posture was cocky, but there was tension. There's always tension in people who know the weight of their own sins. Ethan played his part well. "I want to know the plan. You said you were going to take Emily down. How?" Jake laughed, that smug laugh that always made me want to cry. "Feeling anxious, bro? Relax. She's done this week." "How?" Jake stepped closer, lowered his voice, but Ethan pushed. "Say it. I want to hear it from you, the way you like to brag." Jake bit his lower lip. "Then," he began, "me and Tyler went out last night to the fence behind the school. Cut it. Tomorrow morning, someone's gonna break in and smash the admin office windows." Ethan faked surprise. And they'll find Sarah's jacket there, and Emily's fingerprints. Easy. Got them off a cup of hers yesterday. They'll both get suspended, expelled if it works." Silence. I felt my body freeze. Jake laughed hard. "Everyone'll see. The little slum princess and the traitor rich girl, kicked out like trash." And right then, Ethan subtly nodded. The signal. With trembling hands, I started the live stream on my phone, public stream, audio only, no video, but the sound, clear, sharp. Jake kept going, clueless. After that, no one's gonna say Emily Carter's name again. She's gonna vanish. And then, Ethan delivered the final blow. Tell me more, Jake. Tell me how it feels being the king of this school. Jake turned, laughing. I am the king of this place, Ethan, always have been, and no one's taking that from me. Silence. Then, a phone vibrated. Jake noticed. He looked at me, then at Ethan, and understood. What did you... I raised my phone. The live stream showed over 300 listeners. The whole school. Jake lost it. What did you do? Ethan stepped between us. It's over, Jake. Jake lunged, and right then, the door to room 107 opened. It was Principal Thompson. Behind him, teachers and students. The school had heard everything. Jake was handcuffed right there. The local sheriff had already been alerted. This wasn't just bullying anymore, it was a crime. I was shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. Ethan held me before I collapsed. And in that room, I realized I'd won. But when I looked into Jake's eyes, I understood something even crueler. This wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of my fight to rebuild myself. Jake was out, but the scars he left, those I still had to face, and some were still coming. The classroom felt bigger without Jake, but it wasn't a good kind of emptiness. It was strange, like when someone removes the weight of chains, but your wrists still carry the marks. A week after that morning in room 107, school resumed. The principal sent out official notices. Jake was formally suspended and criminal charges were moving forward. But in practice, silence ruled. Everyone knew what had happened. Everyone had heard the recording, but no one talked about it. I became the forbidden name, the girl who took down the king. Sarah came back, but she felt distant. Not her fault. Now, we were two ticking time bombs walking through school. In first period on Monday, she sat next to me. I didn't know if you'd want me to sit here. I looked at her. My voice came out quiet. Please. She nodded. The rest of class dragged on like a slow nightmare. At lunch, Ethan showed up. No one talked to him either. He sat at our table without asking. Jake is going to trial, he said flatly. I know. He won't forget you too. Sarah looked away. I took a deep breath. I won't forget him either. Ethan lowered his head. The silence between us was the echo of everything we'd been through. After a few minutes, he whispered, I did what I did, but it wasn't enough. Yes, it was, I said. Without you, I would have fallen. Sarah silently held my hand. Ethan went on. He's going to try again, not personally, but through people who still follow him. The team, I asked. He nodded. They blame you, Emily. I know. Then Ms. Muriel appeared in the distance, the same teacher who ignored everything from the start. She hesitated as she approached our table. Emily, can I speak to you? I stood up, nervous. We walked to the empty hallway. She turned to me. I need to apologize. I didn't know how to react. I knew, not everything, but enough, and I did nothing. My eyes filled with tears. She continued, I failed you. Silence. She took a deep breath. I can't erase what happened, but from now on, I want to try to be better. For you, and for the next Emilys. I cried. For the first time, an adult acknowledged my pain. She hugged me. Not as a teacher, but as someone who understood. Then she whispered, and you need to find a way to heal. How? By starting to believe that you're not alone anymore. And I wanted to believe her, but the wounds inside me still screamed. Fear still lived in me, but the worst part was knowing Jake Wallace's name still echoed in the hallways, and his ghosts were waiting. The hallway I walked through every day no longer echoed with laughter, but the silence cut deeper. Jake's friends were still there, not like before, but like shadows. His team never looked me in the eyes, but I felt it, felt their stares on my back, heard their footsteps behind me, like a silent hunt. A week after Jake's suspension, the anonymous notes started again, but this time, they weren't jokes, they were threats. The king might have fallen, but the crown still has owners. Sarah found one of those notes in my locker. Ethan got one too. They're blaming us. That afternoon, standing in the empty gym, Sarah said something that chilled me to the bone. Jake's become a martyr to them. I know. They're planning something. I can feel it. And I felt it too. The fear was different now. Not fear of shoves, of insults, fear of darkness, of what you can't see coming. Principal Thompson called the three of us into his office. If you're feeling threatened, I can request police protection. But I knew that wouldn't work. Because this wasn't a physical threat. It was a slow torture. It was making every step feel like the last safe one. They won't attack us head on, sir. Then what will they do, Emily? They'll wait. He stared at me, heavy. Wait for what? For me to give up. Silence. I left his office on shaky legs. Sarah grabbed my arm. Emily, what if they win? I stopped, looked deep into her eyes. Then, promise me you won't fall too. And you? I hesitated. I don't know if I can hold on. Ethan stepped closer. Then I'll hold on for both of you. Sarah started to cry. I couldn't. At the end of that week, when I got home, something broke me for good. At my front door, taped to the cracked wood of the porch, was a folded note. My hands shook. I opened it. You took down Jake. Now, we're coming for you. Inside the envelope, a lock of hair, brown hair. My mom's. I ran inside. She was in the kitchen, crying. Emily, they got me. In the alley behind the restaurant. She was shaking. They cut my hair, said it was just the beginning unless you disappear from that school. I dropped to my knees on the floor. The battle had crossed the school's walls. Now, they were attacking my home, my family, my life, and for the first time, I seriously thought about running, but the moment I decided to give up, something unexpected happened. Someone knocked on my door. I was sitting on the kitchen floor. My mum's trembling hands were clinging to mine. The smell of burnt beans still lingered in the air, but everything smelled like fear. I wanted to run. For the first time, I felt it as truth, disappear, leave everything behind. Because now, it wasn't just about me. They touched my mom. They crossed the line. Then, the knock at the door, a strong, determined knock. My heart stopped. Emily! A male voice called. I jumped, nearly tripping as I stood up. My mom grabbed my arm, terrified. Don't open it. Emily, please open up. It's me, Ethan. I walked to the door, heart racing. I hesitated, but I opened it. Ethan was there, soaked from the light rain falling, his face tired, his eyes desperate. They attacked your mom. I could only nod, too weak to speak. He continued, I know who did it. My legs almost gave out. Who? Tyler and two others. I heard them. They bragged about it on the court. They're not Jake's followers anymore. They're something worse. They do this because they want to, because they like it. I was shaking. Ethan grabbed my shoulders. Emily, you have to fight, but not the way they want. I can't anymore. Yes, you can. You're not alone. My mom appeared behind me, crying. Ethan looked at her sincerely. Let me help. She just nodded, defeated by fear. And that night, the final plan was born. It wouldn't be revenge. It would be justice, and it would be public. Principal Thompson would help. Sarah, too. Ethan would record it, not secretly, openly official. The day of truth would be the school assembly, in front of everyone, no escape. The next morning I walked to school like I was walking to an execution, but this time with my head held high. In the packed auditorium, Ethan set up the camera. Sarah sat beside me, squeezing my hand tight. And then we walked onto the stage. The principal introduced us, under total silence, and I spoke. I didn't yell, I didn't cry, I didn't shake. I told the story, every insult, every threat, every note, every sleepless night. I showed the envelope, I showed the hair, and in the end, I showed them something no one expected. I could have run, I could have hidden, but I realized, when you lower your head, they win. The tears finally came. Today, I lift my name. The entire school listened. That video of the assembly would be watched thousands of times later. And when I finished speaking, the silence remained. But this time, it was a silence of respect. When I stepped off the stage, Principal Thompson hugged me, and for the first time I believed I survived. But the cycle still needed to be broken, because Tyler and the others were still free, and I knew they were coming. But what I didn't expect was that their next attack would come from where I least expected. After that assembly, for a moment, I believed the worst was over. But peace was brief. 3 days later, when I got home from school, I found the front door broken open. My heart raced. I ran inside. My mom wasn't there. The couch flipped, drawers ransacked, my bedroom a mess, and on my bed, a warning written in red paint. You didn't win. The war isn't over. I called the police, but as always, no clear evidence. Fear moved back in with me, but now, something else was there. Anger. I wasn't going to accept it anymore. That night, as we cleaned up the mess, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Silence. Then heavy breathing, and then the voice. You should have stayed in your place, Emily. They hung up. I collapsed onto the kitchen floor. The next day, I went to school, alone, but determined. Sarah tried to follow me. Ethan insisted, but I needed to face this, for me. I walked into the boys' locker room during second break. The whole school was shocked. Tyler was there, with 2 others who'd helped Jake. Well, look who got lost, he sneered. It's over, Tyler. You think you're gonna scare me with speeches? No, with evidence. He froze. I pulled my phone from my pocket, started recording. My house was broken into. My mom was attacked, and you left your fingerprints on the window. He laughed, nervous. You're bluffing. Maybe, maybe not, but you know who's waiting outside? The door opened. Principal Thompson stepped in. Behind him, my voice will never be silenced again. Tyler turned pale. The others tried to run. They were stopped. The sheriff simply said, "We've heard enough." They were taken away, like Jake, and for the first time, the cycle broke. I sat on the bench outside, looking up at the cloudy sky. I took a deep breath. Sarah sat next to me. Ethan stood nearby, arms crossed. "You did it," she said. "No, we did it." Silence. Then, a smile. I was no longer the girl hiding at the back of the class. I was no longer the victim. I was a survivor. But more than that, now I was a voice. And as the sun finally broke through the grey clouds, I understood. Real power wasn't about shouting the loudest. It was about standing tall when the whole world wants to see you fall. Today, looking back, I still wonder how I made it through. My name is Emily Carter, and this is my story, a story of pain, of fear, of injustice, but above all, of resistance. I didn't tell all of this looking for pity or to make myself an example. I told it because somewhere out there's another girl sitting in the back of a classroom, another boy hiding tears in the school bathroom, someone thinking about giving up, because the world made them believe they're worth nothing. But I'm here to tell you that you are worth something, even when they knock you down, even when they call you trash, even when they break into your house and threaten your family. You are worth something, and fighting doesn't mean not being afraid. Fighting means going on even when you are afraid. The biggest victory of my life wasn't taking down Jake. It was not letting him destroy me. So, if you're listening, watching, reading my story now, I ask you, don't give up. Stay. Stay even when it's hard. Stay even when it feels impossible. And if today someone needs to hear this, share my story. Tell someone, because a single voice can be the start of a revolution. And me, I'm still here, standing and speaking